Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're very happy to have you with us here tonight. I'm actually going to look at our, well, no, I'll share with you. We are very fortunate to have Teresa Briggs with us tonight. Teresa Briggs is the past president of the League of, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Kansas. She is also the chairperson of the People Powered Fair Maps. And this is a big deal because we're in a situation where the Kansas legislature is going to be redrawing our maps, our Kansas House and Senate district in this next term. And we have the opportunity to give testimony to the committee that is redrawing the redistricting committee. We have an opportunity to give them testimony and to say, we believe this part of our community should stay together and don't split us up. But how in the world can you do that? Well, you let somebody like Teresa Briggs talk to you, and she can share the background and some really fine information of what we need to know about the redistricting process in Kansas and how it has an impact on us and our community. So would you please give Teresa a warm Manhattan welcome?
Thank you, Kathy. Really appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you this evening. Can everyone hear me all right? Thumbs up? Okay. Oh, so? I'll turn up my volume a little bit further and speak a little louder, so.
It's actually fuzzy.
Oh, really?
Want to try that again?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear me at all? Yeah.
We don't have any sound, Teresa. We don't have any sound.
I can hear you.
Coming out.
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know.
Okay, want to try that again?
Okay. Can you hear me now? Ah,
Okay. That's somebody else underneath her.
my mic is on and
Okay.
I've got it way turned up, so I don't know. Can you hear me?
Okay. Okay, let's try it one more time, Teresa.
Okay.
One more time, Teresa. We have 4 people back by the microphone, so I'm sure we'll figure it out. Okay, we got you.
Okay. Can you hear me? Great. Thank you. Well, thank you all very much. Thank you for your patience with this situation. I think we're all very tired of Zoom, but thank goodness we have it for situations like this. I really appreciate you making accommodations that I can visit with you virtually. This time of year, I don't like to be out at night on the roads because of the deer and things like that. So we'll try to make do this way. All right. As Kathy said, I want to share with you how people-powered fair maps even started and the campaign here in Kansas. As a result of a Supreme Court decision where they ruled that there really wasn't any fair way to gauge whether gerrymandering had gone too far in any state. And I don't know if the National League was already prepared for a statement like that, but they jumped into action. They established the People Powered Fair Maps campaign. And at the time, they had simply registered the name. You can see now it's trademarked. So they just hit the ground running. And the idea was that they would work with each state to find ways to educate their communities about redistricting and get the public engaged in the process, understanding it more and getting engaged. We want to make sure that districts are equitable, they're transparent in the process, and we want to make sure that, as the name implies, we have people-powered fair maps. So it's not the legislators choosing their voters, it's the voters choosing their legislators. So they ask one individual, one representative from every state and the District of Columbia to come to Washington, D.C. and be trained in not only the topic of redistricting, but the financial aspect of this campaign, what we could and could not use funds for, how to tell our story so that we could go before legislators or groups like yours and explain the importance of redistricting. So one of the requirements they made of us was that we hold a day of action in 2020. And some of you may have remembered, I don't know if any of you were able to make it. It was a horrendously icy cold day in February. We had a lot of reservations, but many people were not able to make it. But it was a great day that we celebrated with legislators. They recognized our efforts with voting registration and our efforts with redistricting. And it was just phenomenal. We had a lot of good speakers. So the next thing we needed to focus on was the census. Now that February 13th event was probably one of our last in-person events for quite a while. And so I know all local leagues were struggling to work with their public and census takers to encourage people to participate in the census, assure them that it would not mean that people would be coming to their door and taking them out of their home, and make the connection between the data collected from the census and how it would be used for redistricting. Because the idea is that everyone is represented equally, and they are supposed to make the populations in each district equitable. So here we are in 2021. We've had our first listening tour. It was kind of like a lightning tour of the redistricting committees in August before the actual data had been released. But they have just announced a second round of opportunity that will be held in each congressional district, each of the four. They've identified the communities within each district where they will have those listening sessions, and the dates right before and after Thanksgiving. But we do not know the times or the actual location as yet, but we're keeping an eye on that. We want to make sure that every local league feels comfortable in having someone get involved in this process to create a strong testimony, draw maps of your communities of interest, so some visuals for the legislators. And we're very fortunate to have other organizations in Kansas that are also addressing redistricting, and we have cross membership, I'm sure, of some, and this is not a full list, but Mainstream is one of our partners, and they actually have a training coming up on November 15th when they're going to help people create their testimony and be more comfortable with that. So as soon as I have the details on that, we'll get that to you. ACLU, Loud Light, the league is a member of Kansas Fair Maps Coalition. So, excuse me, it's the Kansas Fair Maps Coalition that has the training coming up. So many groups. All right, so if you're wondering what you can do, and I'm afraid I don't know that much about what all you've done so far, and if you have a particular committee or what. So you having issues, Kathy? You're muted. Okay. So the idea is that you feel comfortable working with individuals or groups if they want assistance in identifying community of interest, preparing maps, If you as a group want to sponsor or co-sponsor conversations with your area legislators, that is good to educate them as well. Submit testimony, of course, and the Kansas Legislative Research Department has information on their website. They had the press release about the latest round of testimony, and that's a good place to go. And I have that website address later in the presentation, so you will get that. Writing a letter to the editor is a really easy way to get your friends and neighbors locked onto a topic that you know is important, and really use your words to express your concerns that you may have about redistricting. Always remember, we're political, not partisan, so you have to be careful of your wording, but that is a really great and public way to get the word out and let people know an event you have that they could join you to learn more about redistricting. And then maybe in your neighborhood or your friends or neighbors, just the more the merrier, I think, in this situation. So here are some resources. I don't know how many of you might have attended the Pump Up Your Power events. Anybody? Oh, good. I see some hands raised. I hope you felt as I did. I was actually in Chicago, and so members of my work group put that together, but I was so impressed with the clarity that they were able to explain and the visuals they had to show distinct results of poorly drawn district lines. So I have a link to that recording. Whether you've seen it or if you'd like to look at it again, I really think it'd be beneficial. I have a link here to a template to use if you're going to submit written testimony, how to describe your community and the parts of that community, especially as Kathy referenced earlier, that need to stay together rather than being split. We don't want to make it difficult for certain populations to find or access resources. The Kansas Legislature website, where you can always find information on your legislator and also the committee members of the House Committee and the Senate Redistricting Committee. And I like to point out that it's a good thing to provide testimony to these committee members and express your thoughts, especially if they are your legislator. But every legislator will be voting on those maps sometime next year when the session is in progress. So I would say, especially if your legislator is not a part of these committees, they really need to be kept informed about what you're hearing and what you feel and how you want them to represent you with their vote. When we started our work group, which is only been for maybe about a year or more, we thought it would be a good idea to have some real short informational videos that could be posted in different public places and kind of, put on a run of just constant showings. And so we worked with a professional videographer that was fantastic. Members of my work group, we all kind of worked together to fine tune the wording of the script. Then we gave it to the gentleman and he had it recorded by a professional artist. We got to choose voice. He gave us samples. We got to choose the music in the background. So it is really a neat idea to have. It's on the League of Women Voters YouTube channel. You can download them. And I think it'd be a great icebreaker or warm up if you're having a session with friends or neighbors or another organization, and just pop them in. They talk about redistricting and where gerrymandering got its name, what a community of interest is, how an unchallenged race is not as beneficial to voters as a challenged race. You've got choices. So I encourage you to check those out and feel free to use them and share them. Then there's a link here. I don't know, you may have already seen it, but it's a map of Kansas divided up by counties, and then it's color coded to show the population change from the last census to the most current. And it's really interesting to see the movement in population across the state, and that'll make a big difference in the redistricting. So we need to familiarize ourselves with that. Fair Maps has a toolkit that's just kind of a tutorial on how to get started in talking about redistricting. And Speak Up School is another resource that one of our members just really, she listened to it and she was just so impressed. So I've added that here as well. These are all for you to just see what fits. Not everything may appeal to everyone in your league or everybody in your community. So hopefully I gave you a good choice of items there that you could use. I've probably got, I think I have representation from most, if not all, local leagues. People aren't able to come every meeting. We started out meeting monthly, but lately, probably the last 4 months or so, we've been meeting weekly just because things were happening so fast. We're not meeting tonight because several of us had conflicts. And I'm not sure about next week. That's Veterans Day, and I want to be sensitive to people who may have obligations that day. I'm president of the Emporia League, and Emporia is the home of Veterans Day. They're the founding city, so that's usually a special time in Emporia. But these 3 league members have already given a number of trainings, and I know they would be more than happy to help if you want to do a group, kind of a train the trainer type of situation where there are people that are willing to train, but they feel they need to hone their skills a little bit. So you could kind of help them feel more comfortable. So, and you may know these people. Mary Galligan is recently retired from the Kansas Legislative Research Department. So she is a wealth of knowledge because she knows what's gone on the past several years with redistricting. She still has some contacts there. Just a very savvy lady when it comes to redistricting. Connie Taylor is Mary's in Topeka with the Topeka Shawnee County League. Connie Taylor is in Johnson County. Again, just so adept at identifying what we need to do next. And then Sherry Grogan is from Leavenworth, and she's been very instrumental, contributed a lot to our conversations, to our group conversations and our planning. You know, where do we go from now, trying to be strategic to training in her own community and everything. And then I put my information here as well. If a question comes up later or you need help contacting some of these other people or getting access to these resources, just feel free to reach out to me, email, text, call. Whatever's easiest for you, and I will be happy to either help you myself or find someone that will help you. So I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. That's all I had at this point. I don't know what the plan is. I could forward this PowerPoint to Kathy, and then she could make it available, and just everything is fine to share. I don't know if anybody had any specific questions or concerns right now. Can't hear you. I think you're muted, Kathy.
This group will have a lot of questions.
Oh, great.
But I was wondering while I was looking around for hands to come up, if you could maybe give us an idea. Donna is asking if these hot links are listed together on a website somewhere.
No, I mean, some of them I took off of our Google Drive, but I mean, I could put them in a folder on a Google Drive and send out a link if that would make it easy for everybody. Okay.
That'd be great.
I'm getting lots of head shakes. Okay.
Thank you.
I can do that. Okay, I'll get that done. What else?
Okay, all right. This is Harriet.
And I've got another mic here that might work a little bit better. So go ahead, Harriet.
Try this.
what are the dangers in this redistricting here in Kansas? I can see Kansas City and maybe Wichita, but
Yeah.
from here west, I don't know what the dangers of redistricting. It seems like there's none to me.
Yeah. I think you're right that the most sticky situations are going to be Kansas City and Wichita. So we're kind of watching that, but I don't know. I just don't know that we can just say we shouldn't have any concerns when we don't know what they're going to decide to do and where they're going to decide to put the line. So we just have to stay on top of it and make sure that we know what their plan is if they're looking beyond those two, because both of those have really increased in population. So we know something's going to have to give there somewhere.
Teresa, I think in Manhattan as well, but we've had a growth in an area when I was working with Mary Galligan.
Yeah.
He had mentioned that we might see some real redistricting here. So.
Yep. Yeah, I was trying to remember. I looked at some of these counties and was trying to remember how big of an increase yours were.
Yeah, it's hot.
Okay.
Number one.
I'm sorry.
Hi, Teresa, my name is Linda. Yeah, the Potawatomi County is supposedly the #1 growth county in the state of Kansas. We've had so much growth on the east side of Manhattan. And I think that's going to be an area of redistricting for all of us this time.
Who are your representatives and senators? Do you have anybody on the redistricting committee or?
I don't believe we have anybody on the committee. So we have Sydney Carlin and Mike Dodson are our representatives.
Okay.
And Ron Highland over in Potawatomi County and over on the edge of Bryan County, Susie Carlson.
Okay.
But that's clear over on the edge, not part of Manhattan.
Okay. Yeah. I'll pass this along and we'll keep an eye on that.
And then, as Linda said, Potawatomi County, the area that has had the huge growth is in Manhattan, but they're in Potawatomi County. But that's there's a lot of building and houses on the other side of what we call Tuttle Creek Boulevard. That road on the other side is huge growth and economically diverse, more than the city on the west side of Manhattan. We're pretty well split up.
Okay. I was going to ask a question.
Yeah, but Linda's showing.
No, it's okay. We're just showing 2000 to 2010 percentage change in population. That map. It's showing Riley, Potawatomi, Gary as, that's okay, 10 to 20%, I think, growth. And then of course the Kansas City counties, right around Kansas City, and then Butler County. Those are the biggest areas of growth in the state of Kansas in the last 10 years.
Teresa, would you mind talking a bit about what a community of interest is? Because we haven't shared that much with our group here.
Yeah. And that is covered on one of those videos, but a community of interest is an area of, where you would shop or where you would seek medical care, where you go to church. It's just areas that are often can be split up and make it more difficult for certain populations, especially to access those. So it's been more beneficial if they stay where they are than if they get put in another district and the funding may change for that. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what it is. We can do a whole teaching lesson on communities of interest, probably. And I'm not sure if I gave you anything that would really clarify that, except, like I said, those videos that you can find. But we probably have a better explanation and ways that you could identify them in your area, whether it's exactly what is on the list or something similar that will help you identify that and kind of see where it stands now as far as the district lines and what the potential might be to change.
Other questions?
So we do actually have Manhattan is pretty much split right down the middle. And it's hard to look at that map and say, okay, should we ask for a certain area to be staying together, or is everybody kind of happy where it is, but we don't know what's going to be coming up? Because as Linda said, we've really done a huge amount of change. And so it's a little bit difficult to try to figure out where to start. So we could appreciate, some advice on should we talk to our legislators first? Should we, we have members of many different community organizations here, and so we're talking to their organizations, but like, where are you recommending where people start? Other than, we did do our testimony, so we did testify when the committee was in town.
I was going to ask you I was thinking that you were a site that time, so it was good. I'm glad that you testified. Let me get some information to you, and if you'd like a training, if there's a certain group of people, even other organizations, it doesn't just have to be the league, that would like to sit down with a map of Manhattan or Riley County and kind of talk that out. And then, like I said, that training of trainers, I think, would help you all understand it better. And then you then can go forth and work with others and kind of come in a common agreement or something on those. I mean, everybody's going to have different opinions because of where they live or, whether something directly impacts them. But I think that conversation is important to have. So if you have a date in mind that you'd like to have a training, if you can get everybody together, we can do it by Zoom as well. We could sure do that.
Is anybody, let's have a show of hands of people who might be interested if we had a training here about. Could we have a show of hands of people who might be interested in training about the people powered fair maps and
Specifically communities of interest?
Understanding communities of interest. Okay. Well, I think there's enough here that we might pose a couple of dates and be in touch with you, Teresa.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I think, Kathy, you attended one that Mary did, didn't you? Was it an hour or an hour and a half? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it was pretty much right at an hour and it was very efficient. And what we did was we sort of played around with with a program that let us identify areas of interest by just basically clicking places on the map of what we thought should kind of stay together.
Yeah.
And what was really amazing, this is for our Manhattan audience here, we clicked this one very thin part of southern Manhattan, Fairlane Road, and it's a very thin, maybe 10 blocks by 3 blocks. And when we clicked that, this whole huge area was included as their region. That it was the size of the whole city of Manhattan. that whole region. So that little strip of land, which tends to be, was a traditional redlining district. And that little strip of land is separated from everybody else. And it was really something to see that. And because I had no idea it was that separated.
Yeah. Well, hopefully if we can get you all in front of a computer and look at the same thing like Kathy's done, you can kind of understand. But yeah, we've used Dave's redistricting app, or we've used Districtor. There are several formats that you can use. They're free applications. You can just look them up online and just play around with it. They say it's very, most people think it's very user friendly. So, and if you want me to give you the links on the information that I send to Kathy, I can do that as well. And you can kind of play around with it, be familiar with it. But yeah, stay in touch and let me know. We'll get you a training set up, and then you can work with your neighbors and friends and other community members so we can get this done. We want to really get all testimony in before the end of December, because this will be the last chance we have probably to do in person. But the sooner you get it in and it can be posted and everything like that, the better. So let us know if there's any. Oh, you're fine. Go ahead.
Before the listening session, before the next listening session, they're not bringing, okay, we have, all right. Oh, okay, all right. It's still worth doing though. All right. I'm sorry I interrupted. Go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, you can still submit testimony. They're still accepting testimony. So even, if you missed last time, or since it's not going to be in Manhattan this time, or, if it's not close enough for you to go, I would suggest you still do. Now, the last time, just because the way they rushed it, a lot of the comments they got were based on the process. Why'd you do this so fast? And some of the addresses for the locations were wrong. And, it was just kind of a butt chewing type of thing. But some legislators expressed later to some of our members that what we really wanted to hear was about your community and how you feel about the current district lines, and what do you think needs to be changed or shouldn't be changed. So that's what I'd say for you to really focus. We can think in our heads, everything that we think about the process, but what they really need and should hear are the facts of where we live and what we need, so that we have access to the resources that we're used to and that we should have.
Teresa, so I have a question. From what I'm hearing you say, and this is different from what we were getting a sense of when they first started the tour, which was sort of dropped on everybody pretty quickly. So what I hear you saying, it sounds like there really is an openness. I mean, I know we have advocates who are paying attention. We have our representatives who are paying attention, but it sounds as if there really is a willingness to listen. And that wasn't our initial perception. So I think that's really pretty exciting.
I hope so. I don't know that it's the majority, but if we don't make that effort and provide them with that information, we can't come back, say later, you didn't listen to us. So we've got to give them that data so that hopefully they will take it then and use it. And then we've got the ballot box to determine next steps if we need to.
Well, do you have any other questions? Well, Teresa, we sure thank you for all of your time to put this all together, and for your effort and your team's effort on this. I'm trying to move where I'm not getting feedback, so it's not like I can't.
You're fine.
Even though folks know I can't. But anyway, but thank you very much for being with us tonight. We really appreciate it. And thank you to follow up. And looks like we have a number of people here who want to see you again.
Good. That's great. We'll get that training scheduled.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. We do have our next dinner with League is scheduled for the beginning of. All right. Our next dinner with League is going to be the first Thursday in December. And Deb Nuss is